Okay. So,
Yeah.
Dan, it's nice to meet you.
Oh, it's a pleasure to meet you, Sarah.
It's kind of interesting that, interviewing both you and Jen, that we haven't met before. And
No,
so,
we haven't.
so
No,
here
we
we
haven't.
are. So I collected some questions in
Mhm.
both the Yarmouth Public Affairs Facebook page and on One Yarmouth.
Yep.
I said, what would you want to ask all four candidates?
Right.
And I sort of took those questions and I worked to kind of condense them. And I have sort of three buckets that I shared with you
Yes.
before this conversation on sort of affordable housing, communication, and governance.
Yep.
And let's start off with affordable housing.
Yeah.
So the comprehensive plan identifies the need for about 1,200 lower-priced housing units and an annual supply of about 6 rental, 24 to 50, rental, and then the 24 to 50 for sale units, and really to address the problem with finding affordable housing in this town.
Right.
And so I'm wondering what strategies you would employ to address that goal of the comprehensive plan, and kind of philosophically how you think about the different groups of people.
I think it is such a huge problem that I am not convinced it's solvable at the municipal level. Our median house price in Yarmouth is now $735,000. They're building 18 one-bedroom units of affordable housing, which is rental units, which are going to be between $18,000 and $2,000 behind the town hall on Queen Street. So and that's the first low-cost housing that has been approved since 2015. The state, and I just scanned this, so I'm pretty sure about the numbers, but not 100%. The state has $10 million to spend on affordable housing. The federal government has very little that they're willing to spend. So there's the municipality. Yarmouth I don't believe, can put money aside for affordable housing. I don't know where that money would come from. We are already the highest tax town in the state. I don't think it's fair to ask the citizens of Yarmouth to put money in for affordable housing when people are unable to pay for their current housing as the Yarmouth taxes go up. So I think, I hate to say it, but I do not have a solution for it. I think affordable housing has to be a federal issue. I think we need to do things like no interest loans, grants for down payments for first-time home buyers, those sorts of things. And I am telling my kids, you're probably not going to be able to afford to buy a home.
Yeah.
I don't see a way around that. There are certainly people out there than me that know more, and maybe there are solutions, but I've heard a lot of political candidates talk about affordable housing, and I've heard nobody say anything that rings true that will be a real plan. I just don't know. I hate to say I don't know, because I like to have a solution to a problem. I don't know. And I don't think, the fact that we've got 18 units going up, and has been 10 years since we've approved other units. The plan asks for 1,200 units or something like that. Some really big number.
1,200 lower priced housing units are in the comprehensive plan for 23.
So we got 18, one bedroom.
Yeah.
So that means it's going to be either an older couple, a younger couple, or a single person. That's not going to solve the problem.
Yeah.
That's not going to solve the problem.
And so what would you do as a town councilor when you have a comprehensive plan, right, that says this is our goal,
right?
This is what we're aiming for. How would, knowing that that's out there and that I don't know, can you reconcile sort of those two things?
Yeah, we would have to look into outside entities, not to help us do it, but to do it.
Yeah.
There are some nonprofit developers out there. There's one that's building a big unit in Portland. It was approved in 2025. I don't know if they have started it yet. maybe an 85 unit.
Okay.
And so we would need to turn to something like that.
Yeah.
Because the developers are taking risks when they buy property and then build, although I don't think the risk is great.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there are many developers that are going to want to do it for a 4 or 5% return on investment.
Yeah.
I really just don't think so. I think that's the harsh, realistic truth.
Yeah, I appreciate your the candor, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes we just have to say, I don't know.
Right.
And you know, one of the things that as I look at some of the conversation online and listen in on other conversations is this idea of, right, we have people that are truly unable to afford to
Right.
stay in the community where
Right.
they have
That
lived
is
their
more
lives,
important.
right? And then we have people who can
Yeah.
absorb it with
Right.
relative ease and not
Yes.
change a lot of their activities. Maybe some of their investments,
Right.
there might be pieces, and then we have people kind of in that middle range.
Yes.
And it's like, you know, this idea of is there a way that we can kind of weave in a solution that levies those different groups of people?
Right.
I don't know.
And the other thing to keep in mind is that when you add families to Yarmouth, and this is another thing I don't have a solution for. Every child that enters a public school costs the town of Yarmouth $26,000 a year. That's what our budget shows.
Yep.
We're spending $26,000 a year on every child in school. So what does growth look like that is affordable to us? These are large philosophical questions.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't it be great to have low-cost housing and have multi-ethnic, have economic diversity? I would like nothing more than that. And it's not the economics or the diversity that cause the issue. It's how do we pay for those children in the school? How do we pay for them such that those folks that are at times marginalized can stay in town without the taxes going up so they can't? It's almost a catch-22. You can get them in town, but then how do you maintain them as the school expands and the property taxes go up?
And then if they're renting, right, their rent goes up. Either way.
It's all tied together.
Yeah.
So, you know, and the other thing that concerns me is we are always compared to Cape Elizabeth, Falmouth, Cumberland. But in terms of our comparison to those communities, they have 50% higher median household income than Yarmouth does. So we're trying to be like them. We think we are like them. But in actual fact, we're not from a financial perspective. And I think that the difference in the household income is not reflective of the younger families. I think it's reflected that we have a cohort of older folks that these other towns don't. That's the best way I can reconcile it. Because with the median house price of $735, there aren't a lot of older folks, I don't think, that are lower income moving into Yarmouth. I just don't see how that could be possible. So I think we have a cohort, if you will, of people, and these are the people that are struggling. And I think our first commitment is to them, not to new residents. But I think it's all just a large conversation that we have to have.
It is, and you reminded me of something that I read a couple of years ago on the difference of the population density, right? That's one of the things that sets us apart from those other communities.
Yes, that's right.
Is we have, and not that Cape and Falmouth don't have green spaces, but we have the amount, right? We have water, we have amazing green spaces. That's one of the things that I love, right? The natural world around us.
We do.
And that has a tax in and of itself, and is a benefit, right? In and of itself.
Yes, absolutely.
It is that apples to apples.
Right.
So when we think about how we spend money, make decisions, right? And you as a town councilor being in that position, Yarmouth operates under this shared accountability. We have the town council, we have the town manager who apparently oversees 85 full-time and part-time people, and attends all the meetings, provides research, data, policy guidance. Those are two branches, and then we have this third branch of the voters, right, being able to make decisions. So,
and I would throw in there a school committee.
school committee.
which functions independent,
Yes.
which is spending the bulk of the money.
Yes.
So I don't mean to
No.
correct, but that is a
It's
big issue.
It is this, yes, and yes, the school committee piece and how the school committee fits in and the relationship with the town
Yeah.
council is
Yeah,
something
yeah.
interesting, right,
Yes.
to explore.
Yes.
And the communication that's allowed back and forth, and
Right.
how those decisions are made, and how when the decisions from the school committee are made, how the council
Right.
responds.
Yes.
And so with all of those sort of different, hopefully aligned, perhaps competing,
Yeah.
I would imagine diverse, right,
Yes.
viewpoints.
Yes.
What is the role of, what's the influence of a town councilor, and what would you bring to that sort of role?
So I'd start off by saying I think our taxes should be flat. In other words, I don't think we can afford a tax increase. So that is where I'm starting.
Yep.
And as the bank robber Willie Sutton said, where do you go? Why do you rob banks? Because that's where the money is.
Mhm.
The money's in the school budget.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 67% of the total budget, and of that, 80% is manpower, human power. It's the same with the
People
town.
power,
People
right?
power, yes, yes. So I've led some large organizations, and one of the things I'm good at, I hate to say it, but I'm good at exploring data and digging and finding solutions or finding things that aren't making sense and trying to make sense of them. In that, what I mentioned about the income, household income, that was striking to me. So so I'm going to enter, and I think one of my, I would absolutely not call her a competitor, Jen Monty, who we're both looking, I think she feels the same way, that we have to work to maintain a flat budget. So how do we do that against these competing? I was at an event just the other day, and someone said to me, well, if those people can't afford their taxes, maybe they should move to gray. And I just found that appalling, an appalling sentiment.
For so many reasons.
For so many reasons, yeah. And, so you have these folks that, on the bright side, their house valuation went up to $900,000, make up a number, that's great. What your house is worth is meaningless to you as an individual, unless you're going to sell it. It's meaningless.
Or levy it for credit, right?
Levy it, but I'm not going to tell, a 70-year-old single woman that's living in her house, has been there for 75 years, that you've got to get up.
No.
That's just unconscionable.
Yep.
That's unconscionable. So we have to work to keep the budget, and I'd love to see the budget go down, but that's not going to happen, right? It's just not going to happen. To keep it flat. And so Yarmouth has great public schools. We have really good public schools. But I think there are things that we can do within the public schools to maintain great public schools that are not as expensive as they are. Our schools are very expensive, and they're very expensive in comparison to the median income of Yarmouth.
So 80%, if I'm correct, 80% of the Yarmouth budget is people, right? Benefits and
Overall,
salaries
yes,
overall.
yes, 80%.
And I believe it's the same in the school budget, if I remember correctly.
It's the same for
right?
both. Yeah.
So when you have contracts and cost of living, right? Like we have this idea, like a flat budget. For some people, I think a flat budget means keeping the number the same and going up 3%, right? Cost of living increase.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, some
That's
people
not what I'm
are saying keep it the same, and then therefore we're going to be shifting, right,
Yeah.
and really reducing some kind of service, some kind of thing that we
We're
do,
gonna have
activity.
to. We're going to have to.
Or there's the investing more, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're talking about flat budget, you are talking about keeping the number as it is, correct?
Correct, because people on fixed incomes, they may be getting a COLA increase in their Social Security, but that's not going to cut it.
No.
And I think, to be realistic, I mean, we're in the middle of the school budget cycle,
Yep.
right? So
It was.
we have this contract
Yes.
for another year and a half, but that, I'm not involved in the contract
Yep.
negotiations, town council is not. It's gonna have to be up to the school committee to figure out where that money has to come from. Because
Yeah.
the town council has no jurisdiction, if you will, on
No,
that,
No.
but I will vote no.
Yeah, it's a lump, and I think that if I'm correct, one counselor voted no. This last
Yeah.
round, at least the first budget workshop, as I remember, and overwhelmingly, right, the council approves it.
Yeah.
And so that is, it's his people, right, and at the town level too, 80%.
Right.
So what would you do about that? Would you also be looking at people and contracts in
We're
reduction?
gonna have to.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't just
There's
be
no other way to do
programs.
the math.
There's no other way to do the math.
Yep.
There just isn't. I hate to say it, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what kind of work you do or what kind of work, we're at the Gather restaurant, right?
Mhm.
These people aren't getting a cost of living increase. I doubt. I really doubt it. We have great teachers in Yarmouth. I mean, we have really good teachers, a lot of them with advanced degrees. But we've got to do things differently. We just have to. And we have to have people that are willing to say no.
That is, well, I think that is something, right, that ability to say no when
Yeah.
there's a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
to say yes.
Right.
It
Right.
sounds like that's something that you're comfortable with, right? Just in meeting you,
I've been
minutes ago.
yelled and screamed at so
Have you?
many times. I am so used to being unpopular.
Okay.
But when you look at what people are saying online,
Yeah.
and when I go out and talk to people, that is the first thing that everybody says. And I don't care if they are physicians like myself that aren't struggling, or they are people that are struggling. Everybody talks about it. It is the topic of conversation in town.
Yeah.
It's remarkable,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
It's remarkable.
It's it's impacting everybody, and
It is.
I don't know if you saw, I posted sort of the graph of Wyman, right?
Yeah, I saw that.
Right?
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
there was this once years ago,
Yeah.
50%
Right.
of tax base was being paid by
Right.
one company, right?
Right.
And so, as I said, I think when I was interviewing Jen right before you, that hindsight is one thing, right?
Right.
Looking back, I'm sure
Right.
those counselors had things on their plate. I haven't gone. I don't think we can go
Right.
back and watch their
Right.
meetings, right?
No,
They're there.
right, yeah.
They're making their best decisions at the time, and it's hard to say no
Right.
to a
It's
community
hard.
that really
Right.
values the riches
Right.
that we have.
Yeah.
So speaking of online, the communication piece, over sort of the past year or more, the town council and the town have made information more accessible.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
Some of the FAQs are there.
Right.
There are long answers in print to questions that have been asked at meetings. And so at the same time, though, you can look at the pages,
Right.
Facebook, for example, and see that more is needed, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of the ways that you would encourage, recommend, think about getting information to people and correcting misinformation?
So I've thought about that a lot when you sent this out, and there is a lot of information about the town councils out there. So I'm not sure where. I know people are talking about it and are concerned about it, but I've never seen an instance relayed that something was withheld or they want more information on this that wasn't provided. So I'm more than happy to dig deeper into it, but I don't think I understand the problem, to be totally honest with you. I don't understand the problem. I don't understand what people want that is not being communicated, because you can get the minutes, you can get the videos of the meetings.
Yep.
There's lots of frequently asked questions out there on various projects around town. And anytime, I think it's when 3 counselors get together, there has to be notes taken or
they're
something.
not allowed to
we're
talk
not-
about
So we're not
policy,
allowed to talk about anything unless it's recorded and available to the public. So I'd like to hear some instances of what people want that they're not getting.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I'm just guessing
Mm-hmm.
what they want, and that's not good.
Right? Is it
Do you know? I mean, do you have a sense, a better sense than I do about what they're asking for?
The sense that the sense that I have from hearing and having some conversations with some of the people that I believe feel sort of disenfranchised is that they do believe that there have been missed opportunities to communicate and to address concerns.
Yeah.
I also know that's what I hear. That's what I've heard, right? And I also know that every time that I've had a question and wanted to know more about something, I have sent an email to either the whole council, the whole school committee, an individual counselor, the town manager, right? And I've gotten a full and complete answer.
Right.
And I have the sense that that asking the council directly to respond, I don't know whether that's the miss. Like I don't know where it is.
I've often thought, and this could be completely wrong, is that there's a group of people in town that aren't feeling heard.
Yes,
And,
I think that's true.
I wonder if that's where the sentiment of lack of communication is coming from. They don't feel heard, so it's hard to sometimes communicate that, and they're communicating it as you're not talking, but in actually fact, you're not listening.
Yes, right. It's this idea of when you're having communication, which plays, right?
Right.
And we often have to both adjust.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
And so that's really where the crux of that question is. Like, so yes, so I am an educator.
Yeah.
So that's my. I've been a teacher in various different roles in education, and I currently teach in adult education for the university. So that's a little bit about where I'm coming from, and so I think a lot about communication.
Yeah.
Because I'm also teaching. I'm teaching English to adults right now too, and so. Teaching requires thinking about what's the information I'm trying to get across, what's being received, what's the comprehension check, and so I think that personally, I think that if there were some forums that could be created where that information, we could kind of do some comprehension checks.
More back.
That's a reading specialist, right, Lens?
Yeah.
I'm not running for town council. I've tried to run before for different things, and not doing that right now. But it's I think it's a really important thing to distinguish between what's being said
and what's being
received, and whether sometimes it's not received because you don't like the information, or the problem isn't fixable, right? As you said, like you don't know, right? That so somebody that wants an answer, that might feel like you're withholding, And the reality is that I think sort of we have a problem as people with unknowns and with not being able to reconcile the things that are true that don't fit the way that we think things should work.
And I do think, I've read a couple things where someone's at the podium from the public and the town councilors aren't being respectful of what they're saying, maybe on their computer or making faces or things, and I think that would lend itself to the feeling of you're not being respectful. And I agree 100% with you that because I don't know specifics about where this is coming from doesn't mean that we can't improve. I think that we need to understand the questions people are asking. And we need to ask questions about the questions they're asking. And we need to get to the bottom of what they want and be willing to say, we can't do that. We just can't do that. Or maybe help me understand a way you see us going forward. So I think what you said about communication is probably spot on, that we can improve on both sides. And I think the town council needs to be very respectful of the people that are asking the questions and not immediately see who it is and then say, we're going to dismiss that.
And I think it's also, important to do a check on that as well. So for some people, their faces don't match their feelings, right?
Right.
Like that's
Yeah.
just like your affect.
Right.
And so to be able to say, you know, I noticed that you were looking elsewhere,
Right.
Or it seemed to me that you were objecting to something that I said. Like,
Yeah.
can you tell me more about that, right?
Right.
Like, because that's just how I felt. But if we don't have those conversations,
Right. You
and
can't.
instead have
Yeah.
that feeling, like
Yeah.
it's there's responsibility.
Yeah.
That's kind of comes back to that question around governance, that the responsibility of all people to hold each other accountable and to believe that we're all working with the belief that other people are operating in good
Right.
faith.
But I think the burden is on the elected officials
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
than on the townspeople.
Yeah.
Certainly.
And
I mean,
perhaps very near in the future, you will be
see.
carrying that burden.
We'll see.
So,
Yeah.
Dan, thank you so much.
Oh,
I
thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks
I've
for the
enjoyed
time.
this.
Okay.
Really great.
If you want to
Thank
hit
you.
the little thingy.